whole point was like controlling the borders. I mean, you can't then just turn around and go, actually, let's just welcome half of Ukraine to our country.
I also wonder, like, what do we do with the Russian people that do not agree with Putin?
Maybe the news companies have finally realised maybe we need some positive news sometimes to balance it out. Has it not always been a bit like that, though? I mean, like, in terms of just generally conversations being had. I think, like, us three, for example, we have these interesting conversations. We go quite deep in stuff. Most conversations I have with people don't go that deep at all. Like, the mainstream conversations are pretty surface level. And it's the same with the media. I think, like, the mainstream media, to call it that, the typically consumed media is very surface level, is very one topic. But then you've got to kind of look off the beaten track, to find out these other topics, things that are going on.
Yeah, because that's the problem. Because like the news is a mass-consumed product. It's people's 20 minutes a week sometimes, right? Like, a lot of people don't watch the news daily. They watch it once a week, and so you just have to tune and be like, "What did I miss?" Cool, right? It's browsing the homepage on the BBC website, or if you're lucky, like more likely Twitter, and what people are shitposting about the news they read on the BBC website, right?
I don't know, Chris. I don't know if that's true. I think that used to be true. I think we used to consume media a lot slower and more measured. And I think nowadays people click all day long on news and are participating in this new cycle,
in that broader
Twitter arguments, in a much bigger way than they used to. But there's definitely a point to be made, I think, and this is probably the reason why, is that we do need to have this sort of coalesce, because you say this one song that we're all singing, because it shapes cultural identity, right? And we're all connected nowadays, so we need to have this sort of globalized cultural identity, or at least Western globalized cultural identity, which we're now seeing with this Ukraine war, right? This very sort of vitalization of this Western idealism versus the Russian.
It's just nice not to have a partisan thing, though. I mean, other than Russia, everyone feels quickly like we're like, yeah, fuck those guys, that's bad. And it was just nice to have a news story where there wasn't one side that were like, no, it's not bad. Fuck you for saying it's bad. It's actually good. And there was a little bit of that. Like my leftist tanky friends were like, actually, Ukraine's run by Nazis and this is all NATO's fault. And I was like, yeah. And I looked into it and I was like, I don't know, man. Like, if Ukraine was run by Nazis, the Jewish president probably wouldn't get along with them.
It's like based in truth, right? It's based in truth.
Because the Jews were definitely the biggest sufferers from the Holocaust, but it wasn't just aimed at the Jews. It was purification that was much broader than just the Jews. But like, there's way more arguments to be made against this Nazism, because I can show so many pictures right now of modern day Russia that look so much more alike to all the Nazi symbolism.
There's a Nazism problem in Ukraine
from the
Russia,
1930s,
right?
like this whole Z symbol. I mean, come on, right? Are you even trying to hide it at this point? And like Nazi elements are pretty much present in every country in the
Europe
world
as well. I mean, it's not it's not an exclusive problem to Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes down to their resistance, though. It comes down to Ukrainian resistance, right? The Azov Battalion, the Nazis were very well organized there.
It's just
a military sort of formation, but I mean, it doesn't mean that there's. And also, how's he going to go in? I love this idea of like Putin rolling in, being like, right, everyone, get out your political cards. Let's see who's a Nazi. Let's see your card, Nazi. Right, you're going to have to come with us. Like, what? How is he going to denazify Ukraine? So weird. Right?
Anyone that fights them is a Nazi. There you go.
Check it for tattoos, Finn. At least this is somewhere I read on Twitter that the Russians
it's a window. It's a window symbol.
Checking for like Nazi tattoos on their prisoners.
You get a Sharpie out and you just quickly connect the swastika lines. I just love windows.
But how can you even follow? How can you even follow this Nazi argument when at the same time, from Putin's own words, he's trying to create the Grand Soviet Union, right? Like Great Russia again. Like, he said it himself, right? Like,
it was a hilarious argument. He was like, "Oh, you want to go back to before you were our bitch? Well, let's go a little bit further when you were super our bitch." You're like, What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, it's amazing because Putin's known as this 4D chess player. He does the little thing at the right time to mess with the world. And honestly, like, this is why everyone was so confused. When he was on the border, we were like, oh, he's about to do something clever here. This is how much we worship the strong man in our society because we're so pissed off with democracy.
And to be honest, Chris, those giant lines of tanks, they were pretty impressive when they were driving around on Russian roads in a big line, right? Like,
sure, but then you're like,
I was scared.
So what do you want us to do? And he was like, keep buying our gas and suck it, bitch. And we nearly did. We very nearly did. It came this close to everyone being like, let's do mild sanctions.
What's going on there? Is like Italy and Germany still buying the Russian oil and gas there?
Yeah, Germany will stop by the end of the year. This is quite unprecedented. Germany is completely committed to entirely stopping Russian oil and coal by around 2023.
Now that there's a war, rather than just the imminent destruction of the planet, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna just switch to American supplied LNG, right? So I mean, we can't fully transition.
Nuclear power plants, no? Some molten salt.
Well, okay, Finn, but we should have started with that 20 years ago in order to have benefits
France
right
did.
now.
2014, maybe.
It's kind of late thinking this, right?
When Crimea was occupied, maybe we should have gone.
You know what's so funny?
Maybe we should.
Chris,
at that time,
no, but wait, Chris.
No, let me finish this quick one.
Okay.
At that time, when Crimea was invaded, do you know how much of the British economy said, let's invest in Russian oil and gas in 2014? A crazy amount went east at that point. It's like, why? You're fucking nuts. Anyway, you were saying, Ryan.
Well, I just wanted to get back into this whole 4D chess thing because I think, you're right, and I think a lot of things did point to it. I think Russia did interfere in a 4D chess way with a lot of global politics, including Brexit, American Trump election. There's quite a lot of things that we can lead down to Russian doctrine thinking. Until they started to make a war with a television company. Because quite honestly, the Ukrainian government is a television company. That whole party came from a television show.
The president's
they're just way better at the media game. So what happened? They played the media game much better. And what we're seeing an entire world banding behind Zelensky, who's just all day long making phone calls and putting it on Twitter, right? And he's just beating Putin at his own game.
Yeah, and it really is the new generation of media as well, because it used to be, think about the old generation, right? You give a press conference once a month, it's well scripted, Putin comes out, says something smart that gets people thinking, and everyone goes away and goes, what does that mean? Whereas Zelensky is fucking TikTok president. He's live streaming every 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Right. Like, and it's not always tight and well scripted. It doesn't have to be. The point is he's getting message across. And Putin's there like, pictures of him looking angry at this long table, looking distant, looking isolated, being like, and by the time he's come up with something to say, it's too late. People are talking about volume of content, directness of content, and they feel that they can jump on their phone and all these girls are fangirling over Zelensky. Like, it's amazing. Like Obama did it with Facebook, Trump did it with Twitter, and Zelensky's doing it with this short form video content. It is amazing to watch the presidential job become a media company. That's really what it is. It's a perfect analysis, Merang.
Well, and you have to give Biden props, because in the lead up to the war, the American InfoWars were this time played very, very well. Sharing a lot of intel with other countries, building other countries up for the expectation that Russia was going to invade. American government hasn't done that before in this way.
Even they kept having meetings with China and being like, "Do you know anything? Do you know anything?" And just being like to China, like, just keep an eye on the situation. We're concerned about it. And really bridging this thing to China, where they're saying to China, I think it's actually very good diplomacy to say to China, maybe you can talk to them, like, because we'd like to continue trading with you. And it'd be a shame if you two were allies in this thing, because we can work something out, but you don't want to be friends with Russia right now, right? And China's like, very interesting times we live in. I'm kind of over the, oh my god, this is going to end in nuclear World War III panic. Maybe that's stupid, but
wow. I
There's
mean,
nothing we can do about
Yes,
it.
That's
right?
the
It's a
thing.
problem
That's
I
the thing.
can't
Yeah,
fix,
yeah, that's the thing.
so-
That's the thing.
Absolutely fuck all we can do about it. If the nukes go off, we're all fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't need to worry about it. It's going to
Exactly.
happen. We die.
Yeah,
Simple.
exactly. There's no point at all worrying about it. Might it happen? Sure, the Russians are talking about it on their TV. They're just like their BBC. They're threatening throwing nuclears onto Paris, onto the States, whatever.
And it's amazing how
Will it
America
happen?
is-
Likely not. Should you worry about it? Definitely not. Right? Not a single second.
America's giving tanks and missiles to the Ukrainians. It couldn't be more of a proxy war, right? They're like it's a really well-armed militia. It's crazy.
Who've been training since 2014 and before,
Yeah.
right? Intensely.
Intensely. Yeah. There's a lot of U.S. Like supervisors and trainers and people, black ops being performed there on the ground, right?
Well, that's why they've been in Poland, right? And again, it wouldn't be an American on the ground in Ukraine. It's the Polish people they've been training for the last 40 years, right? It's exciting. And I'm tired of pretending it's not.
Well, it's to be honest, what I think is exciting is just to see the Russian army being beaten down so badly, like really badly. I mean, all day long, it's a Twitter flood of Ukrainian farmers trucking around $1 million US tanks.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Moraine, but I would say that we've also got to be aware that that's our media bias, right? Of course, the Western media wants to make it look like Ukraine is winning.
There are great people right
I'm
now.
not saying the opposite is true.
But Finn, there are
Don't get me wrong.
But Finn, there are people right now trying to track this, right? And I really trust a lot more the people on the Western side, and not just the government people, but just any people tracking it on the Western side, from journalism to private individuals to government intel, compared to what's coming out of Russia. There's quite a lot of There's an overwhelming amount of photo, video, audio proof that the Russian side is really not doing well. They're incredibly supply chain
Which
issues.
is nuts to me. I mean, honestly, you can criticize the US military, but it's incredible. If you look at the volume of troops and tanks that they put halfway across the world to Iraq, right? Fully supplied, fully ready to go in a matter of days, weeks. And Russia had how many months to do a quarter of that on their border, and they failed to supply their own stuff.
It's what you get when you spend 4 times more than consistently for the last 100 years.
Like I say, they're prepared for cost to escalate, whereas in Russia, they're like, no. Both systems are corrupt, but in one, the taxpayer picks up the profit margin, and in one, the actual cost of production gets skimmed off, and they just make a bunch of shitty sub-quality products.
And clearly, that's a lot bigger issue, right? Which is what we're seeing right now, right? This incredibly corruption in that regard is just broken now. I mean, plus also, I mean, what's been said, and it does confirm with what we're seeing, is that the Russians really did think they were really quickly going to be able to penetrate to the Ukraine. They were going to be well received by some parts of Ukraine, weren't going to see this amount of resistance. I think they undercalculated, and I heard a colleague of mine with some military experience, the ground there is swampy like, right? So if they would have invaded in midwinter with cold terrain, it would be frozen over. Instead, now they have tanks getting stuck in the mud, right?
The irony of a war about oil and gas, right, being halted because of global warming, so the ground has all thawed, and they were expecting to be able to just drive over this permafrost in Ukraine.
That might have been the essence of why they fucked up. It might be like this could definitely be one of the big changing factors. Yeah, it's crazy, but I think they massively undercalculated.
And then the weirdness of China asking them to delay. So because of the Olympics, China asked them to delay a few weeks.
Possibly, quite possibly made a massive difference. Yeah, quite possibly. Just to overwhelm, because once they couldn't overwhelm, their initial military strategy didn't work out. Then they became supply chain issued. and now there's very low morale across troops. The drones really mattered as well. We have not really seen, you can't really compare it with America invading Iraq or Afghanistan, because we haven't really seen a modern war in this regards, with this heavy resistance from a also militarized modern country. So like, comparisons to the past don't really make that much sense.
Yeah, I heard that
But-
the comparison to Iraq was different because Iraq was already broken as a country.
Yeah,
Right? Like America
exactly.
had been bombing it and sanctioning it for 20 years. So
What about Afghanistan, which was a relatively sovereign nation at the time of the invasion?
Yeah, but with hardly any military, right? I mean, Ukraine is one of the tank manufacturers in the world, right? And then the Bayraktar, the Turkish drone, it's one of the military instruments of the war. But even the small drones, just the ones that you can buy for €100, have turned the tides of the war. They're now the spy planes of the modern war. They can drop even small bombs on tanks, right? And these are just things you can buy from Amazon.
yeah, and it's not just the bombs they drop, but then like people are scared. People are like progress halts, right? Or can we go here, or are there going to be more drones? Anytime you see if you're scared of $100 drone, then when you see a $10 drone, you're like, oh shit, everyone stop, fuck, what's happening, right? Like, yeah, it's asymmetrical warfare, but. And again, like, part of Putin's problem is he fell for his own propaganda. We're liberating these people. They'll greet us. I've heard this line in Iraq, by the way. We'll be greeted as liberators, and that lie falls apart very quickly, right? Like again, it was partially true in Iraq because they were broken people, not particularly loyal to anyone. And once you have this,
There was actual genocide going on though as well in Iraq.
yes,
Against the Kurds. Like there was like evidence of
Sure,
genocide.
but this is not why they invaded, though.
Yeah, but there was evidence of genocide, like, and it was happening against a particular ethnicity, and it was like internationally observed and recognized as being such. Whereas Putin just saying there's genocide in Ukraine,
Right.
there was no evidence.
No,
had been
there's no
presented at all.
evidence. Exactly.
That's a fundamental difference.
no, and the war that was happening in eastern Ukraine was being done by the Russians. It's like, I had this. So I don't know if you know Caleb Maupin. He works for Russia Today. He's like this classic tanky. I'm not sure whether he's intentionally aware of the misinformation he's peddling, or it's just the waters he breed in, and it's the information they give him, right? But so much of the information, according to a press release from the Kremlin, you're like, okay, dude, like, we need to inoculate ourselves against misinformation, but getting your press release from the Kremlin or Fox News or the White House or whatever is like licking a toilet seat to try and inoculate yourself against a disease. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Man. And this guy was just going hard on, look how many people have died, and this is all because of Western imperialism. I go, it's just interesting that in a war since 2014, right, a war between Ukrainian and Russia's, every single death in that war you clock up as an American imperialist death. And it reminds me of the statistics for how many people died in the Soviet Union. I think I quoted this in my conversation with the Swolotariat. I looked into this recently. They were counting road traffic accidents as Soviet deaths.
Yeah.
They have another Soviet.
All these statistics are bullshit, man.
Well, yeah, for sure. All statistics are bullshit, for sure. Yeah. It's good to comment on American imperialism, right? And the invasion of Iraq in the early 2000s was fucking bullshit. Like, what WMDs did you find again?
Yeah.
Right? And we knew it even when they were invading it here in the Netherlands, and probably same in the UK. We're like, what WMDs are you talking about? Right? Even when they were invading.
Exactly.
So America is of course fucked up as well. But if Russians' argument against this is to do everything that is demonstrably fucking
two wrongs.
horrific and shit and
yeah.
wrong, it's like, no, that's not the answer, right? That's not the counter argument whatsoever. And you're already out of the discussion before
It's
it
not.
even
It's not a
started.
good argument. It's not a good argument, right? But like, I mean,
No, there's no but. There's no but. This is why we're canceling Russia.
But
It's
the
like
standard's been set. Like the US and UK and the Western powers go around the world doing what they want. It's a bit hypocritical to then turn around and go, no, but you can't do what we do.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same thing
to
some
but,
extent.
So here's my synthesis between the two, right? Like, here's the problem.
I agree though that it is not a justification.
No, but
whatsoever,
the problem was with Iraq war, as a lot of people said at the time, it was unilateralism, right? Like, and if you look at the response to what Russia's doing in Ukraine, multilateral agreed that it's fucking terrible, as was the response to Iraq. And so the answer, I think, is two things. One, responses and international diplomacy need to be multilateral, right? As frustrating as that is, right? Like, as that slows things down and da-da-da. And the other thing I've realized, time and time again, listen to the doves, right? Like, any people that are anti-war, not all people, because there's idiots in any group, right? But some of the strongest voices who are against the war again and again and again have been right? They were right about Iraq. They were right about Afghanistan, da-da-da. And so there's some really smart people who now, in our lifetime, you can look back on their track record, and some of them are just, so bleeding heart dovey that Yugoslavia is an interesting one, right? Like, it gets controversial. To my mind, a genocide was happening there, and I don't think we got involved because of oil or something weird, like because of Russian political power, maybe, right? Like, but honestly, I've heard the left tankies argument against NATO for Yugoslavia, and it's weak. And even who's your boy, Noam Chomsky? He goes hard on Yugoslavia being a war of NATO aggression, and it's just really hard.
Really?
Once you look into the genocide that happened, the argument they have is, oh, but the genocide got worse once we got involved. And you're like, so we should have done nothing and hoped it got better in response to a genocide? Because we've done that. There's times when we've done that. And it normally doesn't get better. When you just go, let's look away and hope they sort it out themselves. Like, they'll get tired. Genocide's exhausting. I'm like, sorry. But...
Like Cambodia, Rwanda, all these genocides that have happened where there wasn't an intervention and they were allowed to get away with murdering people to the point where they don't even have enough bullets to do it, and they use like palm leaves to murder people.
Big national trauma here in the Netherlands. The Srebrenica disaster, where the Dutch blue helmets, the NATO troops, were stationed, and they were not allowed to intervene with the genocide, mass slaughter. And all these military people have PTSD, heavy PTSD, like even until today. And so, not intervening, really, was that the right strategy here?
So I don't think America should be a world police. I don't think it is the force for good. It tells everyone it is. But when there's a unilateral agreement, and that's what we're looking at with Russia, and to be honest, like, cooler heads are prevailing. I think we're doing the right thing. It's sad, and I do think there's an argument that if Putin ends up with a peace treaty and gets given the two eastern regions,
it will not happen. It will not happen.
Like, that will send the wrong message to tyrants around the world, right?
It will not happen.
He has to lose.
Yeah, and it will be a drawn-out insurgency war where he won't be able to win. Hopefully he'll lose us to the degree that we get rid of Putin. Otherwise, he will keep escalating towards chemical and nuclear warfare. And at the point where we are looking at chemical warfare, I do think we need to intervene, even at the cost of possible nuclear war.
Biden said he would intervene in kind. Like, he would have an appropriate response, which would mean that the US would probably be involved. Yeah. If not NATO.
You can't let countries get away with chemical and nuclear warfare. At that point, the whole world is at cost, right? Well, I hope it, of course. Let's pray. We hope not. Right? Let's pray. It's
happened in Israel, right? Israeli army was using like incendiary, some banned weapons.
It's happened in Syria as well.
Nothing happened.
In
Syria too.
Yeah. But there wasn't white people,
like,
so we can't let
those are
brown people.
These weapons have been used.
Like, if it happens to white people, there will be a response.
It's different because they got blue eyes, Chris.
I'm laughing because it's so fucking sad.
I'm making a joke.
I know. Like, are we wrong? Like, what's the difference? Why does no one care about, like, Syria, Yemen? Like,
there's no difference.
You know what?
There's no difference.
Talking about refugees, I think it's amazing the response that EU have opened up the borders and let the women and children in and the old people. And, it's really good to see that. It's really heartening. And a Spanish politician stood up the other day in the parliament and he said, what a relief to see that this is happening. And it's very interesting that the mechanism to allow this to happen already existed in the legislation, right, which we were told didn't exist before. And funny that we haven't used it for all the other refugees who are drowning in the Mediterranean.
I mean, the comparison with Syria,
when we know that
Libya, which we partially caused as well, right?
Syria, Yemen, doesn't matter wherever they're from.
So Syria was an interesting one to me because the argument with Ukraine is the men should stay and fight, right? And here's where I got in an argument with my racist uncle on Facebook. I was like, "What you want more men staying in Syria and fighting on which side? Which side would you like men to get armed and help win in that fight?"
Because it was so difficult.
And
but they were all...
It is amazing and laudable to see even the right-wing press, the Daily Mail, writing about how we should be letting these refugees in and it's shameful the government aren't doing enough. And you're like, good. Because honestly, even that I was shocked by. Like, I didn't realize it was cut on racial lines so clearly. Because
it shows that, but it's still obviously a good thing.
And the government to drag their feet so hard on sanctions against Russians. Because what they did is say, we'll give you sanctions in 6 weeks. So rich, resourceful people, hopefully you don't take those 6 weeks and find a loophole and get your money out of the country. But yeah, the other thing is, the whole British public want to welcome these people in, and the response is so slow from the UK. It's fucking painful.
It's been shocking, to be honest. Something like 25,000 visas.
Is an echo of us ridiculous. Not allowing the Jews to leave Germany. Like, because that's one way of phrasing it, right? Like, Hitler's first response was get out, and all of Western Europe went, no thanks. Like, no.
But then also, the government have to kind of play it that way because of the whole Brexit situation. The whole point was controlling the borders. I mean, you can't then just turn around and go, actually, let's just welcome half of Ukraine to our country, because then people would have been, maybe people would have accepted it, but it would have created a completely incoherent story, right?
Well, yes.
At least they're consistent. At least they're consistent, mate.
And that's it. The people who the Conservative Party have chosen and voted Priti Patel, they've been voted in because they're angry, racist, anti-immigrant, anti-refugee people. And once you have those people in positions of power,
it's very hard to let them.
And again, austerity. They don't want to govern. They don't want to help people. They don't want to spend money on anything. Rishi Sunak is still being my hero is Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan. And what they would have done is cut the deficit. So how do I cut the deficit? Year 3 of a pandemic, start of World War III. How do I balance the books? That's all he has. He has no imagination whatsoever. He's just an accountant, and the spreadsheet's the wrong color. He's like, fuck, it's red. I need to turn it green. You were saying, Ryan?
Well, so I think, and I don't really know, right? Because I haven't talked to these people, and there's probably a lot of different opinions. I think probably it's slow as well, because a lot of Ukrainians just wanted to stay closer to Ukraine, at least at first, right? Poland's pretty close, good first stop. I also wonder, what do we do with the Russian people that do not agree with Putin? Why we're not offering asylum and open visas to them in the West, right?
Yeah, right, because that's the most heroic.
These people are a danger. These people are massively a danger in their own country.
So we've had this in our industry. Everyone's like, right, we're going to stop selling to Russia. We're not going to handle support tickets for Russia. All the money we've made from Russian customers over the last 2 years, we're going to give to Ukrainian charities. All very laudable again. But I said, unless they've come out against the war, right? And I was like, what? And I go, well, if they've already made the stand against Putin and publicly spoken out against the war, why are we boycotting them? What have they done wrong other than have a Russian
I think
surname?
A lot of that is counterintuitive and counterproductive, because I know Russians who have been banned from buying games on Steam. And what's that going to achieve except just isolation, right? And also, surely we should be accepting money going out of the Russian economy if we really want to damage the Russian economy.
Oh, it's just virtue signaling on Twitter, right?
It is, isn't it? And I never bought the virtue signaling argument, but fundamentally it seems like it's just a bandwagon that people jump on. Like people in their Instagram when they put a Ukrainian flag, and it's like, what have you done?
Oh yeah,
Nothing.
yeah. So it's amazing to me, like, because
It's weird. It's weird. I don't understand it.
You know, I'm doing comedy. I met this Ukrainian. I donated some money to his mum, partly because I drank a bit much. I think that's where most British comedy comes, British charity comes from.
Comedy / charity.
Comedy too.
It fits.
A Freudian slip there.
And then
probably both.
The next day, he starts sending me all these photos of like stocks and bumps and gun parts. And I'm like, oh no, I've accidentally become an international arms dealer. And so we set up this charity comedy fundraiser, and we raised like a good amount of money, like a few $1,000s for these people. And yeah, to a T, not a single person that donated had a Ukrainian picture on their Facebook profile. And all the people with Ukrainian profiles, I'd invite them to this event, invite them to donate.
I don't do shit.
No, they've already done their bit, right? They
put the picture. That's enough.
They clicked twice on their Facebook profile. And dun, dun.
I prayed for them yesterday. So
I stand with them.
Oh, okay, good, good. Yeah. But there's been a huge mobilization of resources.
Yes,
even like like people we follow, like animal sanctuaries, people who have just gone and they've just driven from Spain to the Polish border, and they've tried to help people out, get them to find ways of getting to other countries where they need to go, bringing blankets, bringing supplies, bringing medical stuff, trying to get supplies over the border into Ukraine for people who are staying behind, working in animal sanctuaries, looking after the animals that they couldn't leave because they would have all died, right?
Yeah, the Polish
it's just incredible, man. When these tough times happen and you see this positive response from people, it's really inspiring to see that, because we don't see that in the news, right? For reasons we've gone into before on previous episodes. Bad news spreads better. It's more, calls your attention more. But when we see all this good news, it's like, yeah, actually, there are just shitloads of people who want to do the right thing and want to help and, don't want war, want the situation to end and,
Well, there's been, I guess, even in this news cycle, there has been quite a lot of attention on the positive aspects.
There has, ironically.
Well.
I think
people needed, I think, the story as well.
There's
maybe
also
the news companies have finally realised maybe we need some positive news sometimes.
The bit I struggle with, though, right, is the murder porn. So there's a lot of like outrage and you're like, yeah, you're showing the car getting hit by the tank, and the headline is everyone's outraged at this war crime, and you're like, but that's not why you're sharing it, and that's not why people are watching it. That's not why it got 5 million views, because you remember those websites where you used to be able to watch some guy get hit by a train or shoot himself on camera, or it's a bit of that, isn't it? Like, it's disturbing. And then the other one is like hot young Ukrainian soldiers. Look at these girls on the front line, and they're twins, and you're like, I'm like, not sure this is helping the war effort, guys. My dick stands for Ukraine.
I bet the porn companies probably did something like that, though. Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, OnlyFans, I think, isn't taking a cut of Ukrainian models this month.
That was like peak. Fucking capitalism right there. We're not going to exploit you quite as much.
This small niche of women.
Thanks for everything you've done, OnlyFans. Fucking hell. That is just
the world we live in, boys. The world we live in.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, scary shit.
That
scares me way more than nuclear war or coronavirus.
Well, yeah, what's more terrifying?
Just if there is, if we're preserved in nuclear winter and aliens find our planet in 1,000 years' time, and that's how will they judge us? Probably not too positively.
Hopefully they'll have the technology to instantly download the archive.org, right? And view in a split second the entire history of humanity.
And where would you start? What's the most popular content? Let's see what these people like the most. Oh, it's a Russian raping a Ukrainian. That's odd.
But here, archive.org is a pretty cool website, man. It's got so much cool shit. And they don't preserve the bullshit so much. They preserve, like, the good shit,
Yeah, okay, but you have to assume that an alien comes here or a future AI, and they will read a lot of the bullshit that humans have done and will continue to do to each other. And I don't think we'll be judged too kindly.
No,
we're quite a mixed bag, and this war is showing it.
So
Humans, we're a mixed bag.
we're a mixed bag in our own like judgment, right? Like think about it from this perspective. Most of us are people that like people, right? We have friends, we have like loved ones, right? So in our very biased judgment, we've decided we're like
We're still like, well, they're not.
an impartial outside observer would be like, you guys are not good. Like, sorry, nil point. Like you're not invited to the Council of Alien Federation. Fuck right.
We know that's why aliens aren't here right now. Because they're watching and they're like, are they for real? Like,
So
seriously.
we sent that Jesus guy. How was he received? Not well. It didn't like.
What about
It'd be
Buddha?
so
Yeah, he
funny
was
indeed
like,
if that was like
we
the
thought
first
maybe they'd be
UFO
alright after
arriving,
Buddha, but then-
like,
They
right
killed
there.
him.
They're like,
They killed him, but on the good side, they convinced themselves that they didn't really kill him, and he's actually immortal, and he still talks to some of them. So
And they put symbols of the cross everywhere.
man, if you sketch it like that, it's quite like Christianity is quite a disturbing religion, right?
like,
I just get more and more like weirded out by it as time goes on. I'm just like, it's just so strange, the whole thing, you know?
what Christianity?
The whole thing about Lent. Lent is something, I'm doing Lent at the moment with my girlfriend, right? And we've given up like sugar, processed sugar, 40 days. And I think, how good is Lent, right? Jesus just went, I'll go and have a test for myself, right? Given he's God as well. He went, I'll test myself in just go and wander around the desert for like 40 days with no food and just get the devil to test me just to see what happens. And then just does that. And the devil just fucks with him for 40 days. And at the end he goes, hey, made it. I'm great, aren't I? Obviously, you're omnipotent. Like, what do you expect? Of course you were going to win.
It was his early. That was his first album, bro. Like before he, like broke through. Like,
Yeah. No, the first one was it's like Ricky Gervais where it says book 1, pretty good. Book 3 started to go downhill with the snake, didn't it? Difficult third series.